Do the dead attend their funerals in spirit? They often do, but not for the reason you might think. They're not there to judge. They don't care who sent the biggest flower arrangement or how far people traveled to attend. From their new, heavenly perspective, they're only interested in seeing the impact they had on the lives they touched, and to learn how they are being remembered.
Welcome to Philosopher Insights, the podcast that delivers wisdom in minutes a day that you can put into practice daily and strive to master over a lifetime.
The podcast committed to sharing ideas that encourage you to bridge the gap between who you are today and the person you aspire to be in the future.
Hi, my name is Herb Lamba, and welcome to my podcast, where I will share practical insights from the world's best authors.
Knowledge isn't power. Applied knowledge is. The quest to become the best version of you starts right now.
Hi, and welcome to Philosopher Insights. My name's Herb Lamba. Today, we're discussing We Never Die, The Secrets of the Afterlife. The author of this book is Matt Fraser, and this book is published in 2022. I want to share a number of my favorite insights, starting with the transition. Does my loved one miss me? My pet in heaven? Spirit and funerals? Do suicide deaths make it to heaven? How old are you in heaven? Can dead people see what you do? What does a soul look like? Do all couples end up together? Life review, and then finish it off with a final thought. So let's start with the introduction. Quote, "The death of a loved one is the most challenging and emotional thing anyone can go through. But the secret is, your loved one isn't really gone. As a medium, I help connect the living with friends and family members who have passed. I prove to them that the person they have been missing so badly is not really dead. They're just different. If there were one thing I could do for the world, it would be to let everyone experience life as a psychic medium for just one day. It would help remove some of the mystery and fear of death if people could see what I see. Wherever I go, I see the dead alongside the living. A daughter in spirit standing with her mother at the supermarket checkout line. A father who passed years earlier watching over his son as he takes the subway to work. A loyal pet who has crossed over, still following his owner around. These souls are connected to their loved ones for eternity. As you make the adjustment to life without them, have you wondered how they are adjusting to life on the other side? I want to help you understand what happens from the point of view of the departed, because the more you understand about the afterlife, the closer you will feel to those in spirit. That's exactly why I wanted to write this book. So here it is, my book about the afterlife. Everything I've written here, I've learned from my conversations with souls on the other side. Please keep in mind that we all have our own personal belief system. If something you read here doesn't resonate with you, take only what speaks to your heart and leave the rest behind." End quote. Whoa. Get ready for a mind-blowing episode if you're open to thinking beyond just human life on Earth, especially if you've never encountered a psychic medium before. For me, it really hit home since I lost my mom to cancer back in 1991. As I read this book cover to cover while soaking up the sunshine, every line made me think of her. It was like she was right there with me. Matt Fraser has been gifted with an ability that has granted him an open telephone line between heaven and earth. In the opening chapter, he shares something mind-blowing. Our souls in heaven know what will happen on earth because they are energy. So as he says, quote, "They can see tomorrow more clearly than we can see yesterday. That is why they don't worry about us." End quote. Wait, what? So we're down here stressing and worrying about the future, but our souls who've moved on are just chilling, watching over us without a care in the world. They already know how it all plays out. So they're like, this too shall pass. No need to sweat the small stuff. I am so excited to share the insights from this book, because if you're like me, you will be pleasantly shocked by what Matt Fraser shares about our loved ones who have passed on. So here we go. Insight number 1, the transition. Quote, "What happens when you die?" People ask me this question a lot, but I notice that they get nervous waiting for me to answer. I think they're a little afraid of knowing the answer. Let's make this less stressful. Take out the word death and substitute transition. What happens when you transition? Nobody goes to heaven kicking and screaming. When you are about to pass, angels, loved ones, and pets who are already on the other side help guide you through the transition. Some of them arrive early, and that's the reason many people appear to see loved ones and have conversations with them before they die. When your soul leaves your body, all the pain and illness is left behind, even though your loved ones on earth feel the loss and are sad. On the other side, there is a joyful reunion with those who have passed before you. It is not until you pass on that you can see the full meaning of life." End quote. Now you know what's crazy? I'm getting full-body chills just typing this out, and I've already read the whole damn book. It's such a freaky dynamic. To the living, heaven seems like this far-off distant place. But to those who've passed on, it's like they never really left Earth. They stay connected to us and pop in to keep an eye on things whenever they feel like it. Insight number 2. Does my loved one miss me? Quote, The short answer is no, but every time I say this, people get really upset. They think because the person doesn't miss them, they didn't love them when they were alive. That's not true. They don't miss you because they are with you. In fact, your loved ones have a front row seat in your life, and as crazy as it sounds, they are actually closer to you in death than they were in this world." End quote. Now, I don't think Matt's trying to say it's better to be dead if you want to be closer to your loved ones. But what he is saying is that our loved ones who've passed on are still connected to everyone they cared about when they were alive. I know personally I take great comfort in knowing that. Insight number 3. Will I see my pet in heaven? Quote, yes, pets make it to heaven, and they join up with friends and family when they do. There is a reason why your pets become like family, because your soul recognizes the soul inside them. End quote. Now that has to be such a comforting thought to pet lovers. Your pet passes and then spends time in heaven with your family and friends on the other side. They won't forget you. They are waiting for you to join them. Insight number 4. Spirit and funerals. Quote, do the dead attend their funerals in spirit? They often do, but not for the reason you might think. They're not there to judge. They don't care who sent the biggest flower arrangement or how far people traveled to attend. From their new heavenly perspective, they're only interested in seeing the impact they had on the lives they touched, and to learn how they are being remembered. People ask if I can see the dead at their own funerals. I can, and I have to admit that it's kinda creepy. I actually see 2 versions of the departed, the soul in spirit and their lifeless body in a coffin. One thing that I always find comforting is that the soul sees their funeral differently than we do. While the living cry and mourn, they know they're in the best possible place. End quote. So now you know a couple things. Your loved ones do attend their own funerals, and they're mainly interested in seeing the impact they had on people's lives while they were here on Earth. It reminds me of that exercise we've talked about on the podcast before. Imagining you get to attend your own funeral while still alive. What are people saying about you? What do you wish they'd say? If it doesn't match up with the best version of yourself, it's time to start making changes to rewrite that narrative. Insight number 5. Do suicide deaths make it to heaven? Quote, I think this might be the most important question in the book. People ask me this question practically every day, and it breaks my heart that anyone believes those who take their own life are not allowed into heaven. The truth is that they are in heaven and at peace. Often during their life review, they look backward and see how they could have reached out for help or made different choices. They also look ahead and see the road they would have traveled. Suddenly they realize the pain and challenges they were struggling with when they killed themselves could have been overcome, and they could have made something of their lives. End quote. Now that's a real wow moment in the book for me. The key point that stood out is that during the transition, you go through a life review, like a report card on how you lived. But just a quick reminder that we don't have to wait until we die to evaluate our lives. We can do that self-review every single day here on Earth, and course correct as needed to maximize our score by the end. According to Matt, the spirits of those who died by suicide always share a similar message. They want people to know that having the resilience to keep fighting is crucial. No matter how bad life gets, there is always hope at the end of the tunnel. Quote, heaven has a plan if we can have the patience to let it play out. End quote. Insight number 6. How old are you in heaven? Quote, believe it or not, there are no birthdays in heaven. All souls are one age. I know it sounds a little strange, but think about it. If I connected with a soul in heaven who died during the Civil War, they would be over 150 years old. But it's not like that at all. Our bodies are what we age, not our souls. For the living, every day is a gift, and every year is a milestone along the way. But in heaven, you have arrived at your destination, and those earthly milestones are meaningless. That's why there's no age difference when you're reunited with your soulmate in heaven. You may have passed at 80 and your husband at 50, but when you are reunited, you're the same age. End quote. Now, isn't it comforting to know that if a husband dies in his 90s and his wife passed away in her 60s, they won't have an age gap as soulmates in the afterlife. Their spiritual ages will sync up. As souls, age likely makes no difference at all. You simply show up as your true essential self, the absolute best version possible, free of any physical limitations or flaws. Your spirit shines through in its purest, most vibrant form. Insight number 7. Can dead people see what I do? Quote, wait, do you really want to know the answer? If not, stop reading right now. The truth is that your loved ones can see everything you do. That's right, everything. But before you freak out, keep this in mind. Just because he's passed doesn't mean your father wants to see you on the toilet any more than he did when you were alive. Souls use their ability to see everything the same way I use the security camera in my house. I can watch and see what's going on in every room, but I have better things to do. When I need something, I can watch in real time, and I can also rewind the tape to a specific time or event. End quote. To be honest, when I first started this section of the book, I felt a little twinge of anxiety creep in. The thought of, what if they can see everything, had me sweating. I couldn't help but picture my mom looking down, already knowing the best version of me that's possible, but also seeing all the dumb, stupid stuff I do that works against becoming that person. Hey Mom, I know I'm a slow learner, but just hang tight. I'm working on it, I swear. Yep, I did it. I spoke to my mom via this podcast, because prior to today, I wasn't sure she could hear me. Insight number 8. What does a soul look like? Quote, the soul is the perfect version of the departed. Your soul is you, without a single flaw and without any illness. I imagine mine as 10 pounds lighter than I am now, with no gray hair. You'll be happy to know that your soul always reflects your best, like your favorite mirror at home. I've done readings with spirits who have lost limbs, and when they come through, they're perfectly whole, just as they were before the injury. And not just physical ailments, mental illnesses, depression, sadness, all kinds of things get filtered out when a soul passes over, end quote. This part just gutted me in the most beautifully bittersweet way. Losing my mom to cancer's cruel clutches over 30 years ago is a wound that'll never really fully heal. Watching her vibrant spirit get drained away by that ravaging disease and toxic medication, it's just a memory, honestly, that's been seared into my soul. But now, after over 3 decades of mourning that profound loss, I've learned my beautiful mom has been reborn into the most vibrantly alive, effervescently joyous version of herself imaginable in heaven. Effervescently, always wanted to use that word in a sentence. It says that her spirit was freed from its handcuffs here on earth and allowed to blossom into its most purest form. I've always felt in my heart that heaven is a wonderful, magical place waiting for all of us. But now, after hearing from Matt, who has talked to thousands of people on the other side, I'm certain of it. He has validated that heaven is real and amazing. Knowing this, I will happily hold on to that beautiful vision of heaven until the day I get to see my loved ones again. I genuinely hope this message does the same for you. Insight number 9. Do all couples end up together? Quote, I'll tell you if you promise not to freak out. The answer is no. More often than not, married couples who were in love on earth end up together in heaven. But it's important to remember it's the soul connection that counts, not the marriage license. As we all know, not everyone marries for love. I've done many readings when couples were very unhappy together before one of them passed, but they stay married for the kids. They might find comfort in the relationship, but they are not soulmates, end quote. All right, I can already hear some of you freaking out listening to this, while others are doing a fist pump like, yes, heaven can't be all that great if I'm stuck with him or her for eternity after this life. But before you go making any rash decisions about your afterlife plans, hear me out. Matt goes on to explain how this whole soulmate situation works upstairs. Quote, meeting your soulmate isn't something that you need to work on. It's totally possible and normal to enjoy a long, happy, and productive relationship with someone who is not your soulmate. You can be married and have children together and love each other, but that kind of relationship ends when you die, and you'll be with your true soulmate in heaven, end quote. Well, I promised you in the beginning you will hear stuff today that may just blow your mind. Now I ask you to just let that sink in for a bit. Some of us wonder our whole lives if we will ever find our soulmate, and others lie in bed next to their significant other wondering if they really are the one. Anyone who tells you they have never done that is flat out lying. But Matt urges us not to stress over that here on earth, because in heaven you are surely to connect with your soulmate. Quote, you and your soulmate are on a path toward each other, and destiny says you should meet. However, free will and other factors can knock one or both of you off the path and keep you from connecting. If you're meant to be together, your paths will cross in heaven and you'll be reunited in love for eternity, end quote. Insight number 10, life review. Quote, when a soul transitions, they look back on their time on earth as if they were watching a movie. Only from their new perspective, they can see the events very, very clearly. They review their entire life, the good and the bad. Some souls take longer than others to complete their review and progress to the next level. The life review shines a light on what really matters in life. When you're on the other side, you're no longer attached to your career, your bank balance, or your body fat ratio. That's fine when you're alive, but you leave that stuff behind when you die. What you are left with is the love and compassion you shared, the people you helped, and the difference you made in the world. You also see the unfinished business and the people you hurt. You see the results of the things you did not do, like the love you withheld and the time you didn't spend on the things that mattered. You become fully aware of the ripple effect your behavior had on others. Luckily, it's never too late to make amends, end quote. Wow, there is so much to unpack here. According to Matt, once you've gone through that intense life review process and finally let go of all the negativity weighing you down on earth, that's when the real work begins. But this next part isn't about you. It's about giving back to the loved ones you left behind in such a profound way. See, Matt says that when the time is right, when you're fully processed and transcended your earthly burdens, you get to help guide and teach your family and friends still there. It's like getting a cosmic promotion to the ultimate support staff. Now, what I want to focus on is what immediately came to mind when hearing about a life review. The one Matt talks about happens after we die. Well, that begs the question, doesn't it? Why don't we conduct interim life reviews while we're still alive and while we still have the opportunity to take a different path? Ed Milet talks about a hallucination he has that when he dies, God is going to introduce him to the best version of himself. And his worst nightmare is that when he meets that best version, they will be complete strangers. But, and this is a huge but, all caps, what if we started practicing interim life reviews while we were still breathing here on Earth? If we follow that path, we increase our chances of fulfilling what Ed Milet hopes will occur when he passes away. That we encounter the absolute best version of ourselves, and we're not strangers at all. Instead, we are identical twins. Please, I beg you, don't just read that and move on. Let that sink in and seriously consider what it means for you. Insight number 11, final thought. Quote, something I often tell people that is a big surprise to them. Your loved ones on the other side are creating and living the lives they wish they could have lived here. They do inspirational work, creative, incredible things that are unimaginably magnificent. The difference is that in heaven, they have no fears or doubts or limitations. They are in divine flow. We all have the ability to create the lives we wish, whether we live in heaven or on earth. It is our birthright. End quote. Well, that concludes the insights I wanted to share from this eye-opening book. If you don't believe in the other side, or that we have the power through mediums to understand it, then this episode or book won't serve you that well. However, if you have thought about this, or willing to keep an open mind to the unique messages that Matt's able to deliver, then you may feel the same profound blessing that I felt knowing and trusting that we never die. Our time on Earth is just a very small part of the journey. Please check out Matt's readings on YouTube. Super powerful. And until next time, stay curious and keep embracing the wonders of knowledge. Talk to you soon. You've been listening to Philosopher Insights with your host, Herb Lambert. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.